Hello, Dr. Drew or Dr. Cassins.
Hey, Bobby, how's it going?
Good. Dr. Cassins, did I call him? Or Drew or what?
Yeah, what do you prefer, Drew?
Either way. Drew
Call
or
him
Cass.
Meat Man.
No, I would call you Dr. Cassins. You got a doctorate. I would call you, make everybody call you Dr. Cassins. That's what I do.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
We can do that.
Dr. C, as I like to call him. Never once called him that. So we have some questions that we've talked about here on the show, but mostly we have a question about steak because there was a whole story that came out about steak and that you should microwave a steak first before you put it on the grill because it starts cooking it from the inside. And then everybody on the show was like, you don't microwave a steak. So we called a meat scientist. Dr. Drew Cassins, what do you think here?
Yeah, so that's news to me. We talk a lot about microwaving beef or whatever it might be to help thaw it out because, like you had said, it does help to, cook it from the inside out. But I never had heard of microwaving a steak before you put it onto a grill or anything like that. The idea makes sense, being able to use those microwaves to help and bounce around the water inside the steak to help it cook it from the inside out. But in my opinion, one of the negatives of that is that you're not really getting the chemistry part of it, where you're able to break down the fats on the steak that really give it all the flavor. And so you might get the tenderness aspect and get that uniform of cooking, but you're not getting the flavor. And so, I was kind of thinking about it a little bit more. If I go to a restaurant and I get a very nice bottle of wine, I would expect the wine to come into a nice wine glass, not a solo cup. To me, by cooking a steak in the microwave, you're kind of just making it easier for yourself, and you're not really giving the respect to the meat that it actually deserves.
And meat deserves respect.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the best way to order a steak for health purposes?
For health purposes, when it comes to steak, you can go from rare all the way to well done. Even medium rare is probably what I would suggest people to consume it at because you're getting some of that protein broken down, but all of the bacteria on steak should be on the surface. And so by cooking a steak on a grill, you're going to be killing any bacteria. And so you shouldn't be concerned from a health hazard by cooking or eating a steak at a lower degree than if like medium rare or rare.
I see people on TikTok that eat raw meat, like livers.
Tartar.
Not even tartare.
Oh,
Tartare,
like
you can order tartare at a restaurant, but that's like they eat the raw meat.
Oh.
Like this guy's all ripped up. He's like, I eat raw meat. So is that safe?
I would highly advise against it. It's kind of like, if you go to a restaurant and eat oysters, right, you are taking the responsibility that you could get sick by eating a raw oyster. But to me, eating raw beef like that in that kind of form is not the safest thing to do because you can get sick. E. coli, salmonella are very harmful and can make you deathly ill. Cooking the steak also helps to make it taste better too, in my opinion.
If I went out and killed an animal today, could I, if I were really hungry, just eat it right there raw?
Yeah, you could. But once again, it's going to be a safety measure. You're going to have thinking about if you go and kill the animal, there's probably dirt, feces, that kind of stuff in the area, right? That's got E. coli, and that can make you really sick.
Wagyu, these cows are massaged and classical music's played. Is that real? And if so, does it actually affect the meat?
Well, Wagyu that we see here, especially in the U.S., is just a breed of cattle. We don't typically maybe do the same techniques that people in like Japan would utilize to feed those beef animals beer and things like that. And so these Wagyu that we typically see, you see at a restaurant or you see at grocery store, it might be, they're just a breed of cattle. And these breed of cattle are known to put on intramuscular fat, marbling, right, the little white fat we have in the muscle, which makes it a lot more tender, a lot more juicy overall. So I don't know, we don't do it here in the States, but maybe elsewhere there is some niche marketing of, giving these Wagyu steers or heifers some beer, make them a little drunk, make them a little happy, and eat more food.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What about meat just being healthy or not healthy for you? People are like, don't eat red meat. What do you think about that, doctor?
No, definitely not. I think you need to have red meat in your diet. It's got tons benefits for you, iron, B vitamins. It's got all the essential nutrients and all essential amino acids we need in our body. And so we need to make sure that we're eating meat. And I think I tell people all the time that are really against maybe eating a high meat diet is that it's important that we're eating it in a lean meat setting. We're not eating really fat steaks or really fat, highly marbled steaks all the time. We're eating the leaner cuts that are going to be very beneficial for us.
This is going to be a dumb guy question. Does a female cow, could it possibly taste different than a male cow because their bodies are doing different things, different hormones?
I mean, you bring up a great point. That is definitely something to think about. When it comes to heifers versus like a steer, a heifer is going to maybe mature a little bit earlier through those hormones, and with that process, we see a lot of times those heifers put on a little more fat in comparison to a steer or especially a bull. But if I was to take, a prime ribeye steak, one from a heifer, one from a steer, and I give them to you, Bobby, I don't think you're going to be able to tell which one's different, which one's heifer, which one's steer. There's a lot of other factors that go into the palatability of the animal other than just that sex classification, whether it be heifer or steer.
What if I had a trained palate like wine? Like these guys here can't tell the difference in expensive wine and cheap wine, but some people can because their palate is trained. Could I, if trained, go like, I'll take a female medium rare and then know if they're lying to me?
I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think we'll be able to do that. I mean, I've had plenty of steaks, and I've been on a lot of trained panels before, and I don't think I would even be able to tell the difference between a female heifer or a steer steak.
Doc, defrosting meat. What is the fastest and safest way to defrost meat? I'm not talking about like refrigerator for 24 hours, like fast.
If you want it fast, the best way is microwave, honestly. It's going to utilize those waves to help and, bounce around that water and that product a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. The other easy or safe ways is putting it in cold water.
Yes.
A lot of times when we get home, we want to take some ground beef out of the fridge, put it directly in the most hot water we possibly can and get it thawed out quickly. That's not a very safe way to thawing out meat. So we recommend refrigerators, cold water, or microwave.
See, cold water, because Dr. Drew, Bobby sometimes will put meat in the bottom of the shower.
While I shower,
showers with it.
To thaw it out.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. Yeah, unless you take cold showers.
No, hot showers.
Just don't do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, we live our life differently, so there it is.
Yeah.
Two more questions. And by the way, on the phone with us, Dr. Drew Cassens, meat scientist. He is a professor at Tarleton State University in animal science and veterinary technology. When I'm on a plane, Doc, and I look around, if it starts to get turbulent, I'm like, okay, if this thing goes down, I'm going to eat one of these people. Where would be the best place to start if I was going to eat a human on a plane?
Well, let me ask you this. What goes through your head? What are you looking at when you're looking at these people?
Fat people.
Okay, all right. That makes sense. I can see that. That could be a positive. Maybe some fatter, have some more flavor and that kind of stuff. One thing that I might suggest, I guess, if I was ever in the situation, I guess I hope I never am, the younger, potentially the better.
Oh, gosh.
This is messed up.
Veal, the veal of humans, human veal.
This is
Bad.
messed up, man.
Okay.
As animals get older, they get more tough, and I would expect potentially the same thing happens to humans as well.
I put the note in my phone. All right. And then I want to ask this question, Dr. Drew.
Oh, no.
So you coached 2 successful meat judging teams. Now listen to this. He's basically like the Saban of meat judging.
Wow.
So in 2015, he was an assistant coach. In 2016, he was the head coach. So when you're getting ready for the meat judging as a team, what do you do?
Yeah, so we travel across the country and compete against other universities. And when we're doing this, we're really trying to get the students prepared when it comes to beef quality. So we're going to go to these beef packing plants and look at hundreds of beef carcasses and get them familiar with looking at what a prime carcass, choice carcass, select, and things like that. And on top of that, we have to make sure that they are comfortable in defending their reasoning. And so they do a set of written reasons where they have to take some notes on a class or a set of carcasses and be able to defend why they placed those carcasses or cuts in a certain manner. So it really gives them great life skills to be able to utilize that when it comes to a career down the road.
Do you get a championship ring for that?
You know what? I do not have one.
Oh,
We have buckles.
Okay, buckles
That's
cool then.
cool.
Oh, yeah,
it's
belt
something.
buckle?
Yeah.
We have belt buckles.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of what we see there.
Do you ever come to town here?
I have not been up there in a while. I think last time we kind of drove through, we had a meeting in Chattanooga for animal science, and we met up with Amy and Pooh Bear up there in Nashville. So
That was my
I'd love to
dad.
come up there a little bit more.
Yeah, come up here. We'd love to meet you, and we'd love to have you cook for us.
That'd be great.
I will definitely do so. Yeah, for sure.
Come to the studio. That'd be awesome. I would love to meet you. I feel like you sound like a pretty. Listen, to one doctor to another, you sound like a real likable guy, and it's good for me to hang out with peers.
Sounds great. Yeah, we can do that. I'll bring some brisket or something like that. Do some smoked ribs, and maybe I can find some of those, beer-based Wagyu steaks too.
Yeah, and we could just, chop it up on what it's like to be a doctor.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You do have a doctor. That's right.
That's right. He forgot that.
Oh boy.
Respect.
Respect. That's
Yeah.
right. All right, Dr. Cassis, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Hey, y'all too. Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye, Amy.
Bye.
It's a